Well, welcome to the Korea Society. We're very excited to be hosting this event tonight. As you all know, Chef Esther Choi is here to talk to us about how she came to open her own restaurant at such a young age, and she'll be joined by moderator Lady, whose radio talk show called Word of Mouth features guests like Chef Esther to share their journey with her. And before we begin, we're going to watch a short clip provided by Food Republic. This is a sneak peek of the video. It's going to premiere tomorrow, and it just highlights Chef Esther as a rising star chef. So enjoy the clip, and they will be joining the stage afterwards. Thank you.
Sometimes I like blabber on, and I'm just like, okay, what am I saying? Yeah. My name is Esther Choi. I'm the chef and owner of Måkbar in Chelsea Market. I've been working in restaurants since I was 14, so it's in my bones to be in a restaurant. I tried the normal thing. I actually had this whole career plan around corporate life. 6 months, I was like, I'm not doing this. This is, it went out the window. I tried to keep my parents happy, but it's not where my true passion lied. They were very disappointed, but they also, I think, learned that it's not about that. It's, quality of life. So we are making my version of seaweed ramen. This is based on seaweed soup that you traditionally eat on your birthday every year. Every year, my grandma made me this soup. It's my favorite soup of all time. I think because of the memory, it tastes really good too, and it's really good for you. The version that I'm making is sort of unique because it's a cold version. Usually it's a very hot soup that you eat with rice. While my broth is going, I'm gonna do my toppings, and of course, the heart of the dish, seaweed. My grandparents, they were so traditional, and my grandma is the most amazing cook ever. My grandma made everything from scratch, everything. And that's how I learned to cook. And I think more than how to cook, she taught me how to really appreciate traditions. Still now, to this day, I call her and I'm like, oh, 할머니 이거 어떻게 만들죠? How do I make this again, Grandma? We use these very special green tea noodles. You want to rinse it in cold water because, again, this is a cold noodle dish. A lot of the crowd we get is from somewhere in Middle America, somewhere like Africa, somewhere from South America. A lot of these people have never, heard about Korean food ever. You serve this food to people and they taste it for the first time ever and they're amazed, they were missing out. And that reaction that I get is just, oh man, it's this is what I live for, really. That's my mission in general. Obviously it's to cook because I love doing it, but really to, spread the culture and spread Korean food, and I'm very grateful to be able to do that.
Good evening, everybody. Today we are so lucky to have here with us Chef Esther Choi. She is a businesswoman, the chef owner of Måkbar in the Chelsea Market, the only Korean ramen shop in all of New York City. And she's cooked at El Lily, she's cooked at the Food Network, she's cooked at La Esquina, and last year, 2014, she was voted Village Voice Reader's Choice Best of New York City. Yay, Esther.
Yay.
So we're going to talk Atlantic City. That's where she's from. Anyone here from South Jersey?
No one. No one.
Esther grew up in Atlantic City. She cooked alongside her grandma as a kid. And we're going to talk the concept of tonmat. Everyone here know what tonmat?
Tonmat.
Koreans? Yes? Yes, we're going to talk about tonmat, which is like a hand magic, and also the pursuit of the dream job, which, is a tough road, but worth it in the end. How old are you, Esther?
I am 29.
Wow. Okay, I think we are at the exact same age.
Oh, are we?
Yes.
I didn't know that. Oh, okay.
And she's already got her own business in the heart of New York City. Come on. Wow. Woo!
Thank you.
So we're going to take 25 minutes to catch up with Chef Esther, and then take 15 minutes to do a demo of the tteokbokki that you're going to get to have at the end. and then 5 or 10 minutes for questions, so save up your questions until the end. So Esther,
What's up, lady?
tell me about that moment that you were presented with that Chelsea Market opportunity.
I still remember the day. It was January 2nd of 2014. I got the call, and the guy that I was sort of like working with, he told me, oh, hey, Esther, let's catch up for lunch. And it was kind of weird because it's like, January 2nd. And I sort of had the feeling, but, I didn't want to, be too excited without knowing. And I remember having lunch with him, and he was very casual about it. But to me, I was trying to act normal too, just not to be overly excited. But I remember hearing the words, and I wanted to cry, like I did. Cry because I knew that my life was going to be even harder than what it was previously. So I was like, oh my God, now I have so much more work to do.
It's hard to have opportunities.
Yeah,
actually.
I was very grateful. I mean, don't get me wrong, but for me, it was emotional in many ways. I thought, I had to be different. I had to, a lot of thoughts went through my mind. And first and foremost, it was, of course, I was, overjoyed. I was so happy.
Okay, so this is the moment that you won the bid for the space.
Yes, yes.
It wasn't an easy process.
It was not an easy process. Oh my gosh. Like, if I think back, I don't even know how I went through it. It was really hard. For 3 months, I worked day and night, barely sleeping. And it was harder because it was for something that I wasn't sure that was mine. So when you're working hard for something that you don't know that you're even going to get,
So how did the opportunity come to you?
So basically, I always wanted to sort of own my own business, and it's every chef's dream. At least if it's not like a real like I'm gonna do this, but at least every chef thinks about it once in their life. If you work in a restaurant and you're passionate about it, once in your life you always think like, oh, it would be great to own my own restaurant. Sort of like that for me. But I was always like thinking about it. I always like thought of it as like a side project. Like, oh, if I get the opportunity to open my own space, I have to do it. And
it came from a guy that you knew from a past job, right?
Yes,
because it's all about
Food Network.
connections.
Yes, all about connections.
So who is this guy?
So this was my director at the Food Network. He was actually working together. We became like really, really close friends. So we always talked about opening a restaurant together, opening something together, like owning our own business and doing it together. And I think it was more so I had my own dream, he had his own dream, and together we like dreamt that together. So we would talk about doing it together. And that's basically how it started. And when I left Food Network to be a sous chef at La Esquina, he called me like 2 months into the job. I was already really busy and thinking about what I'm gonna do at La Esquina.
Because you were a sous chef at age like 28, yes.
28, and without barely any restaurant experience in New York.
Esther is a prime example of faking it until you make it.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. You don't even know. You gotta fake it till you make it.
I'm so impressed.
I don't know what I'm doing up here right now. I'm faking everything. Yeah.
Real.
Yeah, not real.
Okay.
This is not real.
Yes.
So basically, working with the chef, pretending to all the cooks there who've been in restaurants for more than 10 years that, I'm a chef. And once you get scared, it's over. You can't. You just got to keep going. And so basically for me, I was scared every day when I was at La Esquina, working with, 20 cooks that have so much more experience. But it's more about believing in yourself and all of that. Anyways, 2 months into the job, he calls me and he's like, oh my God, Esther, Hybrid just went out of Chelsea Market. We have to go get the space. And I'm like,
yeah,
what?
Everyone know what Hybrid was? It was Questlove's fried chicken spot that was filled with celebrity but did not last very long.
Yeah, it was the space that occupied Måkbar previously.
Yes.
And so basically he calls me and he's saying this and I'm like, what are you I'm like, come on, no. I'm like, you're crazy. I have so much work to do. What are you blabbering about? And that's basically how it kind of started. And then he kind of put into my head oh my God, we can do this. we can talk to Jamestown. I know the guy, like blah, 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 blah. And he would basically put into my head that it's solid. We could do it.
Yeah,
It's game.
Jamestown is the management company for the Chelsea market.
Yeah.
And kind of for lay people in the audience, like what does having a space in Chelsea market mean for a restaurateur?
A lot of opportunity.
Yeah.
Yeah. And going into the space, for me, it was not about the money. It was not about anything. It's just about sort of the exposure and, the opportunity you get to showcase your food to basically the world. It's not even New York. It's to the whole world. And that's how I, felt about it when,
Yeah,
first
because
going
you
into
have all the
Chelsea Market.
offices up. I mean, the Food Network's in that space.
I mean, New Yorkers for sure, but you get a lot of tourists from like very random places. I mean,
Right.
they call it the indoor Times Square.
Yep.
Yes.
It feels that way.
Oh yeah, it does every day. Believe me. Yeah.
So it's also a big deal because you kind of plugged into a space with an automatic with automatic foot traffic.
Yes.
And how much did it take for you to get started up there?
To be honest, very little.
Yep.
The space was already built out, and basically all I had to do was have startup costs, which was for me like very, very little because I was doing everything myself. So maybe I would say I put in $40,000 to $50,000 if you had to put a number on it, and the rest of it, Jamestown invested in me.
That's why this space in the Chelsea market is just it was so important for you to get, right?
Yeah.
So what
yeah,
did they put you
sure.
through? Like how do you get that space?
Oh, okay. If you want to do it the way I did, basically you compete against probably thousands of applicants.
Really?
Yeah. And I'm going to be honest, you need connections though. I mean, the reason why my application was there first and before everyone else's was because I knew my director knew someone there that worked there. And yes, they, received thousands of applicants a day. That doesn't mean all those applications, go through that person, right? So yeah, we did have connections. We worked at the Food Network for a while, so we knew the people that worked at Jamestown. And so first and foremost, it was about having an idea, getting the presentation, the letter in front of them, and knowing someone. And that's how it started. But from there, they know thousands of people too. So from there, it's like, it was, a process. It was doing tastings. It was doing presentations. It was writing business plans. It was selling myself, selling my concept constantly, all day, all night. That's how it was, while keeping an 80-hour sous chef job. So the process was intense, very intense. It's probably the hardest time of my entire career, of my life.
Because you wanted it so bad.
I wanted it so bad, and I worked hard for it, but also I was not sure at all if it was going to happen or not. So that's hard,
They put you did tastings and
Yeah, doing that, I think
did a business plan. You've never done a business plan before?
Oh yeah, I never wrote a business plan in my, obviously, I don't even know what I wrote. Honestly, I kind of looked at it last month because I'm trying to like work on another business plan. And I looked at it and I started laughing. Oh my gosh, like this is really not that good. Like I feel like I could have done so much better, but they loved the business plan. The numbers made sense. I don't know how I did it. It was just adrenaline, maybe. The want was just so strong. God heard my prayers.
Well, it was so hard that your additional partner, your former boss and a director at the Food Network,
And a really close friend.
and
one
a
of my
really
best.
close friend. Do you still talk?
We still talk.
Okay.
Yeah, we're very close.
But
still.
it was too much for him.
Yeah, he decided that he was not ready to go through that, like working, 100 hours a week, breathing and living business. And, he knew how hard it would be. And so when we got very close to, getting space, he got cold feet and he got very scared. Kind of like almost like a marriage, right? If you think about it. Yeah, so he basically left me at the altar. Yeah, oh my gosh. Yeah.
Wow.
I was really sad. I cried a lot. Yeah.
So
it was hard.
How did he break the news to you, and how did you?
No, he just called me one day. He's like, "Oh my God, Esther, I don't think I could do it. Like, it's just not it." He's like, "I can't imagine my life not partying and not like,
Not partying?
Not partying." Yeah, he worked for the Food Network. All we did was really, we partied a lot and we worked a lot, but we partied a lot. That's the lifestyle though. You're in media, you meet people, that's your life, right? So it's very different than working in the daily grind every single day and dealing with a lot of problems every single day, being stressed out every single day. Very different. And to be honest, to this day, I still think about Food Network every single day. I'm like, if I was working at Food Network or in corporate right now, I would be doing this, I would be doing that. But that's just, it's the thought that that passes by. But yeah, I'm just saying it's very different.
Well, because you've done like 40 different jobs in your life.
I guess so, yeah. I had a string of
She is the
odd
classic
jobs.
millennial.
I did everything, yeah.
So tell me about your first job after college.
Oh, my first job after college, it was, I was doing marketing at a tech company. Actually, it's called AvePoint. I don't even know if they're still around anymore.
AVE
Point.
Point.
Yeah, so they were like a startup company for, they started as a startup. They wrote software for Microsoft, basically. So, they were, at that point when I was with them, they were trying very hard to be bought out by Microsoft. And yeah, I mean, I don't know.
So why was I doing that? You're like, okay, this is boring.
Oh yeah, after I started, I was with them for maybe 5 months, and that was really long, 5 months. But I hated it. I was learning about all these weird like tech stuff and like learning how to like software, and I had to know like every part of it because you're marketing the software, so you have to know everything about the software. And I was like, why am I doing this right now? Like, who is this for again? Is this for me, or is this for, the guy next to me, or is it for the guy that owns it? I don't even know. Like, I could not see the greater good. I couldn't see the big picture. And I just felt like an ant in an ant farm. And I don't like feeling like an ant.
We can tell. And you are seriously not an ant, because if you are an ant, you're an ant who makes very delicious tteokbokki and ramen. So then you went home to your parents, kind of regrouped, and then how did you come up with, hey, I'm going to go to culinary school in New York?
It was more like I knew I wanted to work in food. I didn't know that I wanted to be a chef per se. I just knew that I liked food, and I have a lot of experience in restaurants because I worked in restaurants since I was 14. It was really for a job, just to make money, just to make allowance, and I never liked asking my parents for money or depending on people. So I always like had a job since I was like 14, always. So I think that's why it sort of like felt like I fell in love with it without even knowing it. And so when I decided to move to New York, I knew, like I was like, okay, let me just go to culinary school and see, and I'll just take like the best job ever, like work at the Food Network or something, because that's glamorous. That's what I thought. That's what I thought.
Because you actually, before you landed in culinary school and started cooking, getting your hands dirty, you kind of like looked down on the chef in a restaurant profession, right?
Yeah, it was more so because like my parents put in my head like, you can't be a cook. Obviously
Asian parents
can't do that, especially I'm a girl,
lives everywhere.
Asian girl. You know how it is. You're an Asian woman. You know how it is. Yeah. So basically, they put that into my head, and for me, I was like, I don't think that I can work 12, 14 hours, like being all sweaty and like doing all that. It didn't even cross my mind. Right. Honestly, I was like,
because it's really what you do is really hard. Like actually.
Yes.
Terribly. Sweaty, long hours.
Yeah. But very rewarding, and you don't gain any weight even though you eat as much as you want, because you're always using like all your energy. That's probably the best part of it.
Okay, so then,
just kidding.
So then you landed in culinary school, and then it just like, what happened?
So I remember like my first week at culinary school, I was shocked. I was shocked at like the chef lifestyle, the chef life, the passion. I just felt like, wow, I found my place. this is what I was meant to do. I was meant to cook for people, like always. So, from then on, I knew, like, I fell in love with the kitchen, just in general, just food, like more in love. And it was more like a realization. I knew I always loved it, but it was more like a realization, like, wow, this is where my place is. It's like meant to be. Sort of almost like finding your, first love kind of thing.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
I felt very strongly about it. And, then I like cooked in kitchens and did all that and worked really hard.
When you were a kid, was there a particular point that you're like, whoa, I'm a kid who loves food more than the average kid?
Not really. I wouldn't say like food, like eating per se, but I knew I always liked hanging out in the kitchen.
Okay.
Always. Like,
With your grandma?
Yes. My friends would like go play outside and do all the weird stuff that they would do, but I would love to hang out with my grandma in the kitchen. My grandma, my mom, and I have this like very fond memory of, just always wanting to hang out in the kitchen. Always.
They were like,
Yeah.
she was a strange kid.
Yeah, I guess so.
So what do your parents think now? I mean, come on, being a business owner at age 29 is kind of
Oh, I
rad.
don't know. They still think that I'm a little crazy. They're like, "Oh, do you have to do that? Are you sure?" They're like, "Why are you doing it? Why?" Like, over and over. Every time I call them, they're like, "Esther, are you sure?" They feel so bad basically because they think that I work way too hard. And they didn't imagine that lifestyle for me because no Asian parents want that for their kid. They want, especially as a girl, they want you to like find a good husband and like live like very extravagant and like have a really good life, which is great too. But it's just I'm very stubborn, I guess. I want to do what I want to do, and I'm like, Mom, no. Yeah, what do you want me to do? Just like quit now? Like I can't do that. They're just worried.
You work with your sister too, right?
As of last week, she actually went back to corporate.
Oh, she
Yeah.
did. Okay, so she was working with you for
A year.
For a year. She was in front of house, right?
Yes, she helped me set up the business. She did a lot of like the operations, a lot of the paperwork, a lot of the business side that I needed. And so she did that. She helped me for a year, thank God, because I would have drowned.
But you became your older sister's boss.
Yeah, that was a little awkward, I guess.
Have your parents come in to dine?
Yes, many times. They always come when they can. And
Do they have feedback for you?
I mean, my grandma came one time because she's older now, so it's hard for her to like come out to the city and sit on her like really high stools and stuff. But when I first opened, they did come, and my grandma's one comment, I still remember it. She was like, "This has to be better." So I was so like, oh my gosh, like I didn't even know what to. I was like, "Oh, 할머니 죄송해요. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. It will be better. I swear it will be better." And
Wow.
I think that's, in the end, they're so Asian. So, criticizing is like a part of them, part of
Yes.
even for me, I criticize myself like all the time. So I'm sure I'll criticize my kids like probably all
It's
the
hard
time.
to be a little Asian girl. It really is.
I know, little Asian girl, like physically and everything.
Everything,
Like,
just
just like
everything.
very hard.
Yes.
You have to see me in a kitchen, like I have to use everyone around me.
Your
'cause I
arms
can't
look
reach it.
pretty good.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
I mean,
It's a
I
lot of
try.
Heavy lifting. Earliest memory of cooking with your grandma?
Earliest memory?
Yeah.
I can't pinpoint a certain memory, but always there's two things that we always did as a family. It was making kimchi. That was like definitely, I think a lot of Korean families do this, but every year we got the whole family together and we made like 50 pounds of kimchi, like all day. That's all you would do, make kimchi. And so I remember doing that with my grandma, like at a very, very young age, and also making dumplings every New Year's. So those two things.
Mandu.
Mandu.
Yeah.
Mandu. Hmm.
I know my Korean.
You know you're Korean. I mean, what's the other word that I?
Oh yes. Tomat.
No, not that one. Not
Oh.
that one. Not that one.
The other one. Oh, I know
Other
it. It's Jongsun.
정성.
John.
정선.
Johnson.
You got it. You got it.
Okay,
You got it, girl.
so for the non-Koreans in the audience, let's learn two very important Korean words. I always tend to remember the food words in any
Yeah,
language.
those are the two most important food words. In
Okay, so
Korea.
what is this 돈맛?
손맛 is basically hand taste. It literally translates to hand taste, and it basically means every person that cooks has like a particular flavor, and it comes from their hands. Yeah, it's like a very traditional
so
Korean
cool.
word.
That sounds
Mhm.
so delicious.
So if your family has like really good 손맛, you know that you'll pass it on to your kids and your kids and your kids. So my grandma passed it on to me. I would like to think. So that's why I have very great 손맛.
Amazing. And then how about this Johnson?
정성.
John
정.
Johnson.
You got it. You got it.
Johnson.
정성. I think this is like by far the most important thing that I learned from my family, and particularly my grandma. But everything that you cook, you do it with 정성, with your whole heart. And basically, when you're cooking something, it's not for yourself. It's not for anyone, really. It's for the person that you're making it for because you love them so much. So, you never take shortcuts, and because if you want to take shortcuts, then that's what your food's going to taste like. You have to put in the work, have to put in sweat, have to put in the love, really, to make the food taste it. And really, you can taste it. You can taste when someone put that much thought, effort, and love into a dish. And that's what I really learned from 할머니.
Two last questions for you, Esther, before we move on to our demo. So you ended up moving back to Korea for 3 years.
Yes, when I was little.
So you're born in Atlantic City, moved back. How was that transition to Korea and then back?
I was so young. I was in 6th grade. It was kind of hard though because I forgot to speak English. Even though I was born and raised here, I grew up here till 3rd grade. I only spent really 3 years in Korea in Korean school, hanging out with like the Korean kids. But I think at that age, you forget a lot of things. So when I moved back, it was kind of awkward because everyone thought I was a fob. It's just like, no, I speak English, really. But they put me in ESL anyway, just because they thought that I was a fob, which I guess it was my look. I don't know what fresh out the road.
I was also in ESL, and I
think a lot of people
I came
have
here
this
from
experience.
Taiwan at 2 years old, and I was like, I am in ESL. Like, I know how to speak English. I'm just shy, okay? Gosh.
Exactly. Don't think my shyness is like.
I'm not dumb.
Yeah.
I'm smart at English. Really.
Exactly.
Yes.
Yeah.
So you came back here. Okay. Your dream job, other than like, let's just say you weren't this like totally insanely talented chef and businesswoman. So like, what would be your other dream job in retirement?
I don't know. Something to do with people, for sure. I always had like this thing where I love connecting with people, and I think I'm very good with people, and I hope that people like me. So anything that has to do with people. I mean, I had a string of like weird jobs, and a lot of them entailed taking care of people.
Yeah, nursing home,
I did.
assistant. You studied a lot of psychology in school.
Yeah, I took care of a lot of kids. I wanted to at one point, be a special ed teacher. I don't know what happened to that. But I had a lot of dreams. I had a lot of like imagination. I think I'm a very creative person in general. I imagine myself doing like all these things. And I still think I have that in me. Like, even though I love food and obviously I know what I want to do now, but if I had the opportunity, I had the time, I would, try something completely different. Like do something really weird. Like go and like, I don't know, go to Africa or something and do something crazy. But
you would.
Yeah.
And also being a special ed teacher is very similar to being an executive chef in that you have to manage personalities.
Oh man, yeah. You know what? Being a chef is all about managing personalities. It's crazy. Oh, business owner. You have to know when to, say something or not say something. You need to know how to have some sort of control. If not, then it's really hard. Yeah, it's all people management in the end.
Thank you so much. Yay.
Thank you, lady.
Thank you for sharing with us your story. And let's get started on
Our
cooking.
demo? Yeah, of course.
You need me. Okay.
Yes, I need you. I hope that wasn't boring for you guys. I hope that was. Thanks, Tina.
Save up your questions because we're gonna have a couple minutes at the end for Q&A.
Okay. It's all right. It's okay.
Clearly, I don't belong in the kitchen. Oh my gosh, breaking everything.
Okay, so lady, if you can, take off your rings
Yes.
and we're
Yes, I'm
cooking
gonna
now.
take off my rings.
I'm
Okay.
gonna tie my hair up because
Oh, I need to tie my hair up too, but I don't.
because we're dealing with food and this is important.
I don't have a hair tie.
You don't have.
Yeah.
It's okay.
Okay,
It's
cool.
alright.
You find a
I
random.
won't let you do like the hard stuff unless you want to. Okay.
I found out today that I was going to be helping with the cooking demo, so.
Yeah, it's like, lady, you're gonna help me cook, right? Okay, so we're gonna be demonstrating my version of tteokbokki, and tteokbokki is a very popular Korean rice cake dish. And I remember growing up when I was in the 3rd grade and going to Korean school. Me and my fellow friends would go and always get this dish. It's a very fond memory of mine.
Because Atlantic City back then didn't have like a whole lot of Korean restaurants. Like
No, we had no Korean restaurants, 0. So, for me, I grew up eating my grandma's Korean food. So when I went to Korea at 3rd grade, I was like, oh my God, what is all this crazy stuff on the street? Which tteokbokki was one of them. Okay, so first thing we're gonna do is make the sauce. So if you can do me a favor, all the stuff that I passed to you, just put it in this mixing bowl and mix it all together. Here, you can use a spatula. Go. So gochujang. This is the tteokbokki sauce, and this version that I'm making is exactly the one that we sell at Måkbar. And first thing we're gonna do is make the sauce. And we have like a lot of ingredients that go in this. But it's relatively easy, everything you can find. So gochujang, which
Gochujang is awesome.
it's like a fermented Korean chili paste for those of you that don't know. Honey,
Has a lot of umami,
honey.
right? We like umami.
Yeah, we love umami. And then
And what makes your tteokbokki different from like say your grandmother's or my imaginary Korean grandmother's tteokbokki?
Because I use a little bit of Western technique. I crisp up the rice cakes in brown butter, and
That
it's
sounds
just-
good.
Yeah, or brown butter in anything.
Okay.
right?
Yeah.
Okay, so what did I put in here? Orange juice, soy sauce, sesame oil, sake. This is ginger puree, ginger juice that we just like squeezed out. I prepped everything in advance, so it's easier.
Yes.
for
Always
us.
have your mise en place.
That's brown sugar.
Esther, what is mise en place?
Like prepped items, like all of your.
Yes, but very important. Were
Very,
there
very,
things
very,
in
very
like the
important.
you obviously you studied under the French
Yeah.
tradition.
I did get French Frenchly trained. French. Yeah.
Frenchified.
Yeah, Frenchified. Yeah, I did train very classically. So you get to know all these like basic terms. I think that's just necessary to survive in a kitchen, especially if you're trying to do it such a short period of time. You know me, I didn't really have the luxury of working in kitchens for 10 years. So what I just put in beshi, which is plum extract, lemon juice.
Wow, there is a lot of like
Yeah, but trust me, we make like really big batches.
Yeah.
At once a week, so it's not this hard at the restaurant. Garlic.
it's not hard. It's just a lot of complexity in here.
Yes,
Everything I love is in the sauce.
Yeah.
That garlic
Everything.
really.
You can smell it.
Yeah, I like that.
Smell it. And so basically, this you would
Whisk
you would whisk it all together, like whatever, and then put it in a
Warm.
pot and you boil it. You reduce it for like 10 minutes. You boil it, make sure it well incorporates, And then you put it in the fridge, let it chill, cool, and then you get this beautiful silky red sauce, and which I made in advance because we're not going to do that right now because we don't have time.
Okay.
So that's the sauce that you put on the stove, let it boil, simmer, and then next thing you're going to do for me is cut this bacon and I'm going to turn this on.
Cut it in what way? Shape, form?
Really small pieces.
Okay.
Yeah, you don't have to do the whole thing. I would say like half of that. And this is ground pork, and we're gonna brown the bacon and the ground pork in advance for the tteokbokki.
And do you usually do you typically put bacon and ground pork in a traditional Korean tteokbokki?
No, not at all. This is sort of like the more Western feel, the using pork and bacon, because bacon and butter and pork is good in anything to me. Right? So it's almost like I feel like, oh man, am I cheating by using all these like delicious ingredients? But no, it's about the ingredient.
We like cheating.
Yeah.
We like cheating. Can I tell you one time I got really hooked on making Brussels sprouts one winter, and I made Brussels sprouts like a million times, and I would always include like pancetta or bacon. I mean, of course you need pancetta and bacon in your Brussels sprouts.
Yeah.
And then I brought it to a potluck in Harlem, and then at the potluck there were Muslim people.
Oh my gosh, that happened to me one time.
But I didn't tell them though.
You can't do that. You're so mean. Oh my god.
Wow, Leti, your recipe is so amazing. Like, can we keep the leftovers?
You're evil.
And I was like, cool, but I didn't want them to like look at it more closely the next day after they like got sober and then realized that I had done a really bad thing.
Oh my goodness, that is hilarious.
Oops.
Yeah. Oops.
But like, come on, if you look at your dish and you don't know what's in it, like that's kind
especially
of your
if you
own
have
problem.
a special diet, right?
Yeah.
I deal with that every day.
It's not my fault.
Yeah.
Not my fault.
I mean, if you don't know that you're eating pork when you're eating it, I mean, what are you supposed to say to that, right? So sorry.
That's my pork story.
Okay. All right. So basically, browning the pork, the ground pork, and the bacon, and
that smells delicious.
we're gonna need another knife.
Another knife?
Yeah, because you cut pork with it.
Yes.
So we're gonna need. Okay.
Can we have another knife?
Thank you, someone. Okay, and so we're gonna have another. So this is basically done, cooked. So we're gonna leave this on the side for now, and then put our main pot on
I'm gonna let you
here.
touch that because my hands are.
Yeah. So, see, this is the pain about doing. Okay, I'm gonna do that. Switch the cutting board over, and we have a clean knife here. Okay. So while this pan is heating up, you're gonna cut this for me. This is white kimchi that I made in advance. You can buy it at a store. We make it in-house. So if you could just cut this for me, like, just like this, like very thin pieces.
Mm-hmm.
Pan is getting hot, and then, so we're gonna start the dish. It's so simple. As long as you have your mise en place ready, it's really so simple to make. So, few knobs of butter. And it's really important to melt the butter completely and let it cook. Like, you want to see brown specks. And that's the beauty of using brown butter, because once it gets to that level, it has a very different flavor profile.
Yeah.
It's very nutty, right?
Mm-hmm.
Instead of using just creamy butter, it gets sweet, nutty, delicious. So
it's like we're really gourmetifying a grandma dish.
Kind of, yeah. I guess so, if you think about it.
Yeah. Which, Korean or not, we can all appreciate that, right?
Yeah. So you see, it's getting like a little brown. At this point, I'm gonna add my rice cakes, which I use these like really thin ones, only because I always had a problem with texture with tteokbokki. It was just way too thick and like chewy.
Mm-hmm.
So I always liked eating rice cakes kind of like crispy, like different texture. And texture is always like a very important part of my cooking. So basically, we are gonna crisp up the rice cakes, and that's why I use the thin ones, because then you can get like more texture from it.
Something that I picked up in culinary school as well is that like
You went to culinary school?
Yeah, like a
Oh.
short course, not the full blown thing. And I
Yeah.
never worked in a New York City kitchen like you.
Oh yeah, you don't want to.
But like the crisping of stuff, like that's like
Yeah.
a thing, you know, which I think
Texture,
Yeah,
right?
which I'm a fan of saucy, mushy foods and chewy foods because
Really?
I'm super Asian. But like I can appreciate the technique here.
Yeah, I mean it's very different. If you want your average, street tteokbokki that you get in Korea, obviously this is not it. But if you want something different, interesting, if you want to do this at home, it's really easy. Obviously, literally, all you do, crisp up the tteok in brown butter, and when you're doing this, you have to make sure you get a spatula and feel every rice cake and make sure it's crispy. I yell at my cooks all the time, because they're so they want to hurry up and make the dish, so they don't wait. But you have to. You have to wait until the rice cakes every single one is crispy, which looks like this is here. Feel it. You
Oh, wow,
feel,
that one,
right?
yeah.
So at that point,
That's
the already browned bacon and pork, you add. And you brown it in advance because you don't want to add like raw meat to this, right? So very easy. Ground pork, bacon, brown butter, tteok. Basically, that's what I have. And you let this maybe,
So your Korean grandma would have used like canola oil or something?
yeah, I mean, not at all. She would just probably boil rice cakes in water, add all the ingredients, and let it just like simmer.
Yep.
Very, very easy dish, but this is a little bit
Crispier,
Yeah.
crunchier.
crunchier. It has texture. Texture is everything in this dish. And then at this point, you turn off the heat, because when you add the cold sauce to the heat, if this is hot and this is hot, then the sauce is going to break. So it's really important that your sauce is cold, which is why I made it in advance, put it in the fridge. And this is extremely hot. And if you add this on direct heat, it's also going to break. So this is like a science thing, obviously. So take it off the heat, and at this point, when it's a little bit cool, your sauce is cold, you add it. And from here,
So what was one of the dishes that you cooked up for the judges that decided who would go into that space?
the first tasting was like the lunch menu, so it was ramen. I did like pork buns, I did like kind of like the whole cake, like what I sell at Måkbar right now. And then the second tasting, I did like a 6-course meal. Yeah, this wasn't in there, but I should have put this in. They would have loved this. So anyway, you see, it's crispy and kind of not as saucy as you would imagine. Tteokbokki is a lot saucier, just like a lot of juice, and everything's mushy. But this is like crispy, and so that will get plated. And then it doesn't stop here because that would be boring, right? So how we garnish it is we have poached eggs, and this is easy to do at home. You can just pour boiling water on room temperature eggs, let it sit for 15 minutes, and then it will be this perfectly poached egg.
Wow,
which-
that is a great.
yeah, it's great. It's in Japanese, it's called onsen tamago, but in English there's no word for that.
That was exciting.
Yeah, that was exciting. So the poached egg, perfectly poached.
Wow.
Right?
You didn't even need
Yeah.
to put that in a sous vide or anything.
Well, ours is sous vide.
Yes.
But if you
Oh.
do this at home,
Okay, I was
you
like,
could
that
do
was
it-
like a sous vide egg.
this is sous vide. Yes, but if you do it at home, you can do it like
So
that.
it really will
come
look
out-
just like
yes,
that.
it will come out exactly
That
like
is the
this.
best tip I've learned all month.
all month.
Yeah.
I'm sure you hear tips all the time.
No, but
from all
that's awesome because that's beautiful.
But at home, if you make like 15 of these, you can eat like 15 perfectly poached eggs at all times. So white kimchi that lady chopped for me, that's gonna go on top. And then from here, I do a little bit of micro cilantro and nori and sesame seeds. So this is how our dish goes out at Måkbar, which
Yum.
is very different than the thing that you would eat on the street, right? So
Like ready to dive in.
yeah, can you? I would love for you to taste it, but we don't have any. You want to use this like big spoon and?
Oh
just,
yeah, I'm gonna
like-
do that.
Yeah, whatever.
Oh, we're gonna smush up all the
See, the egg yolk
the
is.
yolk porn, hashtag yolk porn. Wow. Yum.
Is it good? Mm-hmm.
It's like
Crispy.
umami, crispy, carby,
Carby.
warm, like a tteokbokki hug, and beautiful too.
Thank you. Yeah.
Let's give Esther a round of applause.
Thank you.
All right, we're gonna open up to questions. Questions about the recipe, questions about Esther's story.
I went to ICE. I think it's still called ICE, Institute of
Yeah, Institute of Culinary Education.
Yeah.
And I think just like between the two culinary schools that are in town, ICE is
And
awesome
FCI,
because
yeah.
FCI became the International Culinary
ICC.
Center. Yeah.
Right. ICC.
So like, I think ICE is awesome for that. Part of the curriculum is that you have to go do a stage, right?
Yes. Yes, you do. Like it's part of the program where you have an internship. Yeah. You have to, and they connect you really well with the restaurant world, which is great. I particularly chose ICE because it was the cheapest and the quickest program, and I was like ready to move. So yeah, that was my main reason. But you know, it was a great school. So they really put me, you know, in the heart of the chef scene in New York.
Yeah. Other question?
Chef Esther, what made you decide to do a Korean ramen bar of all the different types of Korean cuisines you could be doing or concepts?
So, you know, a lot of people have this misconception that I'm like some ramen queen. I wish that were true, and I now am, but obviously that was honestly a business decision. I always knew that I wanted to do Korean food, and I still do. My next concept might not even be ramen. You know, I might not want to do that, but, you know, who knows? But at that moment, at that time, for that space, I knew ramen would be a hit. So I knew that it was an it was like a business decision.
A
to do
Trojan
that.
horse of Asian
Yeah, I mean, ramen's so big right now.
deliciousness.
Delicious. It's delicious, comforting. It's like sort of my type of food. And I know in that space, it needs to sort of have like a concept. And
Right.
for me, because ramen's so big right now, I was like, okay, there's no Korean ramen shops. Let's do something where people feel comfortable. So basically, ramen was a vehicle that I used to introduce sort of Korean food to like Chelsea Market. That world.
Is there something that makes ramen more something that is just, what is it about ramen that makes it like an efficient business in that space?
Because first of all, the cost of making ramen is low. Obviously, my rent would be extremely high. We're in Chelsea Market. It's inevitable. So, you know, I can do ramen and it costs less. It's really hearty. And, you know, on the go, there's no noodle shops in that area. So I knew that it was perfect. Yeah.
Awesome.
It kind of like looks like a ramen bar too, right?
Yeah, it does.
As soon as I saw it, I was like, this should be a ramen bar.
Yeah, you're right.
Mm-hmm.
Is there a meaning behind the restaurant name?
So yes, it's actually a more complicated story than I usually tell people. Måkbar means eat bar, and it came from a lot more than just that. There's this popular term in Korea right now called mukbang, and it's basically watching people eat on TV, and it's like a very popular weird thing.
It's super messed up.
See, you think it's messed up, but I'm like one of those people who actually like enjoy it, and I watch those shows.
You're super messed up.
I know. I'm so weird.
I thought that was from, it's
loved
actually
it.
from Korea, not Japan.
Yeah, it's
both.
Korea. It's Korean.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a Korean thing. Eating on camera and all of that.
These
It's
like
huge in
bloggers
Korea.
get like paid a lot to
A lot
basically
of
eat
money.
on screen, just straight up eat.
Okay,
Nothing.
that part of it got weird, but before that happened, it was, you know, celebrities would go and eat at different restaurants. And, you know, for me, I loved that type of show. So I was like, oh, you know, mukbang, I love that word. It's trendy. So how could I make it sound English, sort of? So mukbar. It's sort of how I
Oh.
came up with it. It was from that word, though.
So this thing,
Don't
like,
judge me.
This is like, wow, I'm amazed. Like I'm like loving this because I recently discovered this. This is not a new phenomenon. This is like,
Yeah,
you guys
and
were
it's
been
kinda
messed up
crazy.
for a long time.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Cool.
And now it's getting a little bit more crazy, but I'm not part of that. I'm Måkbar. That's different.
I love it. I love it.
You got any other than ramen on the menu? What else you got?
What else do you have on the menu besides ramen, right?
Besides ramen, tteokbokki, this is one of my dishes on the menu. I also do a lot like snacky, like street food items. Sort of like, what I grew up with my grandma, what I grew up with when I was eating in Korea on the streets. My hoe cake, which is very popular. It's my version of hotteup, which is a very popular Korean food. It's usually stuffed with, something sweet, but I stuff it with pork belly. That was one of like my main. I always like imagined making it, so I had to put it on the menu. And so like street snack, that kind of food.
Just stuff that I want to eat all the time.
Yeah. It's basically I just cook what I want to eat. Really.
I come from the
Yeah.
streets of Taiwan, so I
So
feel very at home at your mukbang.
Yeah, that's the feeling I want people to get.
Tell us about the non-alcoholic beverage that that you brew.
The
with
teas.
with the crazy stuff in it. I love it.
Oh yeah,
What is it?
I forget which one you had, but I love making the weird teas.
Yes.
It's fun. It's because we fermented for like 6 months. I love fermentation.
Give us some examples of some of the flavors.
Okay, so for example, right now we do like a ginger plum tea, and the ginger has been fermenting for 8 months in my basement prep kitchen. Yeah, but we take ginger peels and we dry it, and then we add sugar to it, and then we let that ferment for about like 6 to 8 months, and it creates this like incredible depth of flavor that's not just ginger, right? It's different. It's like syrupy. It has this very intense flavor. So like that's the sort of thing that I like to do. The drinks is just something that I do for fun because
Yeah, but it's worth stopping in there,
Yeah,
like just
yeah.
for one of her fermented teas. Any other question?
When you were a sous chef at La Esquina, did your colleagues know that you were trying to open your own place? Or was it like a secret?
Oh yeah, no, that was a secret because it was like 2 months into being at La Esquina where I got the call and was like trying to get the space. So basically, I had to make sure it wasn't like obvious. Like I was working 80 hours a week at La Esquina, but I had to do this on the side. So I was like tired and cranky like all the time. So all the cooks and
like a
chefs
typical
probably
chef.
knew. They were like, "Oh my God, this girl is like such a biatch." They probably thought that, but it was really because I was getting no sleep and all of that. But no, I didn't tell a single person until I knew that it was my space. Because if I didn't get the space, I would have to stay there. So I couldn't let it affect my current career or current job.
Ooh.
Hi, I have 3 questions for you.
Mhm.
So I think that first, what other Korean food do you have in Korea for
Your next adventure.
Mhm.
And second, because I think that Korean food is still underrepresented in New York City,
Mhm.
and I love what you're doing, but I personally want to see Gukbap.
Kukbap?
Yeah, but
Mhm.
there's no place to go for that. So
Yes.
Second question is, what's your thoughts on bringing that here? What's your idea of it? And last question is, who's your inspiration?
Okay. So
So can you repeat all the questions? Like
No.
do one by one.
Yeah, one by one.
Okay.
What was the first one again? Yeah, it was
Kupa. Kupa?
what other ideas?
Okay.
Other idea? Oh, so oh man, there's so many. It's crazy. Like every day I'm like, oh, that's a great idea for a restaurant. That's a great idea. And if you think about it, you can Koreanify everything. You can kimchify everything. In my opinion, you can make Korean food out of like anything.
My hand.
Yes. Give me your hand. I'll make
No.
kimchi with it. There's so many different concepts. Right now, one of the main things that I think is underrepresented is like jeonggol, which is casserole. Like you
Oh,
eat it.
totally.
Yeah, because for me, oh my God, that's like my favorite thing to eat. When I'm in K-Town, when I'm at home, I love making the
Soup,
community
soup.
Yeah, and in general, New York City is very cold most of the year, so I think it's a great business idea. And in general, people should be eating more of these soups. So one of the things that I really want to do in the near future would be something like that. I think kukbap is great. And
What is that?
Kukbap is basically soup, individual soup that you eat with rice. So instead of
Oh,
like
yeah.
ramen noodles, it will be rice.
Oh yeah.
And that is
like the
obviously
sulongtang is kupai, right?
Yes, that's
Interesting.
kukbap. That's a kukbap. Mhm.
Yes.
Yay! Yay! See, I'm Koreanifying you right now.
Yeah.
So I think kukbap is a genius idea. And honestly, originally when I was doing mukbar, I always wrote on the menu, you can substitute with rice. And that idea was because if you substitute the noodles with rice, it's technically just 국밥, So I think that's a brilliant idea.
Please have 돼지국밥 sometime.
Oh, 돼지국밥. You can come to Måkbar and I'll make that for you. All it is you don't use noodles, you use rice instead, if you think about it, right? And what's the third?
Was there?
Oh, my inspiration? I know this is like so cheesy and so, but I have to say it, it's my grandma. Like, how can it not be? She taught me how to love food. She taught me how to cook for people. And, as cheesy as it may sound, and when people say it, I don't think it's really, a cheesy or a typical or, a common thing. But for me, it really is. I still talk to my grandma to this day about food. And, she always says that I am the exact image of her when she was younger. So,
Wow.
yeah. So I get all emotional thinking about Harmony. Yeah.
We have run out of time, and we're going to give Chef Esther a round of applause for cooking for us today.
Thank you for coming.
We have tteokbokki for everyone, right?
Yes, tteokbokki for everyone in the back,
In
so
the
you
back.
can taste it.
We're going to hang out, so if you have more questions, you can come and ask
Just ask
Chef
me
Esther
personally.
one-on-one. Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much. My name is Leti Sue, and I host a show called Word of Mouth on Heritage Radio Network.
Yay, thank you, ladies, so much. Thank you.
Yay! That was so fun.